How are you doing? I'm running a little late, but I I'm trying to find a good system to inform uh, the Twitch people that things are running behind a little bit. Obviously, if I mean, and this is just a simple thing where I I was behind in getting dinner ready, and I tend to notice if I don't eat before the cast, the cast isn't quite as good, and it's possible, especially if I want to try and go later to compensate. I will, I'll probably not wind up eating, and then that just causes problems in the morning. So, well, not problems, but like I just don't feel good in the morning. So I've tried to get a little more in the habit of. One thing is that it definitely helps viewership and it helps the stream if I have a regular start time, and I do try to make that 7 as much as I can. I've given myself sort of the 1 hour window because obviously it's not a job, and there are certain certain limits in terms of what I'm willing to sort of give up in my day-to-day in order to sustain the stream. But I also sort of recognize that there are some very regular people who continue to sub. So the middle ground that I've been able to get has been to try and be consistent in terms of my starts, but to sort of give myself, a window in which to be able to get these things done. There's a couple of things I want to do before I do the usual credits and all the other particulars. In one special case, okay, yes, Cultist Simulator is tagged, so I want to make sure that the game is actually tagged properly. On top of that, I wanted to make sure that I want to make sure I wasn't hosting someone, because I think the VOD for not the YouTube video, but the stream for the Elder Scrolls yesterday was actually cut a bit because I still seem to be hosting Ponce, even though that was supposed to run. So on that note, there's a new Surviving Mars episode. If you are watching this on YouTube, you'll be able to find that in the bedtime videos playlist at a much better quality than you're used to. Unfortunately, Twitch doesn't give me transcodes for those vodcasts, and so I down-res it for the purposes of the VODs. Or the vodcast, so sort of the live broadcast the broadcast on Twitch, in which there can be live chat, but it is a pre-recorded video. So if you like those more calming, theoretically calming, Surviving Mars streams, there is something for you tomorrow, that being Thursday, August the 1st. Other details in terms of Cultist Simulator. If you have not signed up to the Book of Hours website, do so. There is a preview of the Kickstarter page, and I'm probably going to wind up sneezing, so I'll see if I can get that out really quick. No, of course not, because I'm live. Again, if you want to help make this stuff take shape, Book of Hours newsletter is still available. They'll probably still be sending out the links to get the feedback on that. I do have a little feedback myself, although I haven't actually submitted it yet because I'm a terrible person. But it's looking really good. The thing is it's really easy to sort of assume, because I like Cultist Simulator so much, that I'm automatically going to like the Book of Hours. And obviously Weather Factory has gotten truckloads of goodwill, both for being very cool people, as well as just making a game that I like, and making it in a way that I found it really fun to engage with. But I did, I found Cultist Simulator at one point. At what point Cultist Simulator was I don't know exactly what this thing is, but it looks interesting, let's give it a go. And on top of that, it was something that, I enjoy more in its current phase than I necessarily enjoyed it at the beginning. Obviously, I liked the game at the beginning, and I sort of saw how it could grow, but my enthusiasm for the game has grown over time. So as much as I like Weather Factory, and as much as I like, I like the people behind it, and I hope that they do well, I sort of have the view that it is easier for them to get me interested, but ultimately if they were to make a game that wasn't my cup of tea, I'd wish them well, I'd let people know about it, but I don't really see a benefit in trying to say, this thing isn't for me. And that's especially important if you want to give feedback, because obviously everybody wants to hear sort of storms of applause or, endless praise. But things aren't necessarily going to get any better if people don't confront the things that aren't working. So all of this is to say is that I was certainly very enthusiastic about Book of Hours, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I know really what's going on with it. And now that I've read some of the draft Kickstarter stuff, I am very excited for this game. Obviously, there is that level of sort of attention that you get from, people who've made a game that you like and, and following up on it. But in terms of just some of the ways that the game is being talked about on that page and some of the things that they're discussing, it really does seem to be something that's up my alley. So all of this is a long advertisement for this mailing list. If you haven't signed up for it, I do recommend you do so. It's available. If you don't know, if you don't have Cultist Simulator, you can't take advantage of this link. It's just weatherfactory.biz. If you just want to see the Kickstarter when it gets released, that will be, I believe, September 3rd. And I'm sure there will be a lot of joyful noise that happens around it. And I hope it gets funded. Obviously, the Book of Hours is not necessarily something that we know is going to happen yet. If there isn't money for it, if people don't back it, then it's really hard to argue that this is something that is, sustainable for a studio like Weather Factory. So it does still need people to make it a reality, but I fully intend to be one of them. So, who is responsible for the game we are playing tonight? Design, writing, and coding by Alexis Kennedy, production, marketing, and biz by Lottie Bevan, UI design and coding by Martin Nerukar, and I'm very happy to say that, I think I said this last week too, but Nowhere Profit is now out. You can buy it. It seems to have been rather well received, which I'm happy about. Looks like he's doing some pretty rapid updates as well. And it's worth saying it's not a perfect game, and I think I've probably not been deeply critical of it in terms of talking about it, but I'd like to think that I've been more or less sort of upfront on the fact that it's not the normal type of game that I play, and there are a couple of things where I might have wanted it differently. But it's a really good game, and it's interesting to see that one of the things that didn't quite work for me, he's already worked on it. In fact, it might already be fixed. There's just a couple of weird AI things. It looks like the difficulty's being ratcheted down, which is good. I found it a very tough game, but I'm also, despite what the streams might seem like, I'm a little bit of a wintry player, so I don't particularly mind getting clobbered by the game. And more importantly, he's been taking some of the feedback from Reddit and whatnot, the stuff that's hard to read but really important in terms of the overall quality. It's been really impressive to sort of see some of his comments on Twitter in terms of sort of the people's response to the game and how it goes through. So definitely recommend that you check it out. Art by Catherine Unger, Clockwork Cuckoo, Lottie Bevan, and Sarah Gordon. The music you're listening to right now, Maribeth Solomon, Brent Barkman, Mickey Erb for Mickey Moore Productions Limited. Flobe, what game am I talking about? Great to see you again. I don't know if you've done Cultist Simulator again. For those of you, I know there's not too many people inside chat, but for those of you who haven't checked them out, I believe you're a newer stream if memory serves. You're playing Fortnite. I don't have much of a taste for Fortnite, so I haven't stopped by whenever you've been playing that, but I do occasionally peek in and take a look when I see you do other stuff. But the game I was talking about was Nowhere Profit. And the person, they sort of did some contract work on this to do the UI that you see here. The prototype for this game was actually sort of this JavaScript thing. So Martin Nerukar did it. I would definitely recommend checking it out, especially if you like card-driven games, and particularly, so if you combine like FTL and Hearthstone, there's definitely I think there's something really interesting going on in it, and I think it's a worthwhile game. So definitely one to check it out. Yeah, no problem. Audio by Soundcuts, additional writing by Lottie Bevan, additional coding by Fraser McCormick, Chris Payne, Mark Gagne, Lyra Zeider, now full-time member of Weather Factory, and Hannah Rose, another full-time member of Weather Factory, and the person who will be doing more of the UI work on Book of Hours, I believe. Additional design by Callan Porter, marketing and PR by Claire Sharkey, who is another full-time member of Weather Factory now. And special thanks to Sonia and PK, Matt Hosty, Haley Urias, and literally everyone who has ever sent feedback or a bug report. Thank you. Yeah. Well, if it's, as I'm always fond of telling people, if it's, it's a price is what you pay, a value is what you get sort of thing, it's always hard for me to tell people what games are worth it to them on a price level, right? I learned this when I was at work. And I was talking to a friend about Darkest Dungeon, and they were interested, and they watched a couple videos for it. And they said they were really interested. So I said, okay, if you want, I can let you know when the next sale comes out. They said, oh no, I just already bought it. Like, $30 isn't that much. I think it's $30 or something along those lines. It was really interesting. So like, this is a guy who doesn't normally play games, and they thought nothing about paying full price for a game which, pretty regularly goes like 75% off. So one of the ways that I've always been able to navigate that for myself, and what I always recommend, is if the game is something that interests you, do wishlist it. Because in the end, that's going to signal to other people who might like the game, but more importantly, that's going to keep it fresh in your mind. If it's not something you think you want to play, obviously don't. But I definitely know the feeling that you're talking about. And so if it's a little high for what you think it's worth, definitely give it a wish list, because it does still help the developer in that case. Awesome. All right, Cultist Simulator it is. I tend to filibuster at the start. Have you checked out Griftlands? I have not, although apparently it's supposed to be quite similar. I know another game that people compare Nowhere Prophet to is Slay the Spire. Obviously, Cultist Simulator is card-driven, but card-driven in an entirely different way. So it's a narrative card game. The story is told through the cards, but it's not Magic, that's for sure. But I'm aware of Griftlands. I have not actually seen even a trailer for it. But is this something you would recommend? In the meantime, while I let you answer that, let's review where we're at. So I've got sickness, but I've got plenty of vitality to deal with that. I've been painting a bit. I think that was to preserve my fleeting reminiscence, and I think... Right, I believe I was going to convert this to restlessness with Misnania so I can get... Or was I? Yes, I was going to convert this to restlessness so I can regularly use it in my my show. But then I would still need to get rid of this one, so... Sorry, I'm just trying to think my way through all this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this into the reputation as a medium. This one I'm going to convert with Misnania when it's done. Have you played any of other Clive's games? You haven't played Griftlands, you're on the fence about picking up an alpha. I have played a very tiny bit of Mark of the Ninja. I did a little bit of Don't Starve. Don't Starve wasn't quite my sort of thing. What else have I played? But I feel like I've played quite a few Clay games. Oh, I really liked Invisible Ink. And they're actually a Vancouver studio, which is where I used to live. So I know they've been very helpful to a lot of developers that have made games that I've really enjoyed. So, okay. So yeah, I think the idea here is going to be this one gets eaten by the reputation as a medium. This one I'm going to convert into restlessness for sort of regular funding. We're a bit better off as far as funds are concerned, but I still want to make sure I'm not I don't fall behind, especially because I'm going to need to buy a projector for Stum. Eventually I want to start going on some expeditions, so I think once I convert the Fleeting Reminiscence, I'm going to start trying to hire some more people. While we're at it, I will at least bring the hangar on in. It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to just have that sit idle, so hangar on, and I'll add the Thrilling Air just because I can. There's really no benefit or drawback to doing so, but this one is ready. I believe I can actually write this very substantial Moth commission, but obviously only once I've gotten rid of all of my other sort of time-sensitive issues. We're going through the Stag Door as intended. We're becoming more swole. And I think the rest will fall into place over time, so... have you not won this round with that many cards on the table? Oh, man, Flob, we are... we're not even that far in on this one. So I think one of the tricks about this is there's lots of different... first of all, there's lots of different endings to the game. As far as progress, so like these... I don't know. I don't know if you did an expedition, but like these expeditions here are the very first ones in the game. We haven't actually done any of them. That's what we're about to start on here. And then, this is sort of the second tier and whatnot. But I have a desire, but I know there's a thing that you need to do as the ghoul. So this Medium Legacy is the last DLC that was put out for Cultist Simulator. And it's one that behaves a bit differently from the others. So I'm still trying to learn exactly how to get my toehold, get a toehold on sort of the main goal. I have very broad ideas of what it is, and I believe it's because I think there's a book by a guy named Solomon Husher in the game, which gives you an indication in terms of where this is all going. But one of the things is that I have a kind of a thin bench as far as followers are concerned, and so there's a little bit of a tension between saying, okay, do I want to go and have some adventures now and potentially risk some wounds, or do I want to play conservatively? The answer, by the way, is we're not playing conservative. You guys so baffled by that win where you retired as a cop? Yeah. So you did actually win accidentally in that particular one. That was really funny to watch. But yeah, so the best that I can say, if you wanted me, it's a little easier for me to say in person rather than in your chat, but seeing as you've been able to kick the tires a little bit with Cultist Simulator, the thing that interests me so much about this game, and the thing that got me into it when I first played it, was if I were to be told what this game is about, it's something that everybody can understand, that there is this thing that you want to do, it's something that maybe gets you up in the morning, it's your passion, it's, it is something that you've kind of been put on Earth to do. But our ambitions and our dreams don't necessarily line up with the fact that we live in a world that kind of expects us to pay rent and keep food on the table. And generally the things that allow those to happen are very mundane things, and they're not fun, and there's often a tension or there's a conflict between those two. And so in the case of Cultist Simulator, your dreams quite literally is the world of Dream. You've been given this glimpse at this world that sort of exists just beneath the skin of this one, and it manifests itself in strange dreams. And a lot of it is trying to figure out what that means. And of course, quite literally in this game, it is figuring out what it means, because all it really tells you are these little fragments of information, and you have to try and make sense of it. So in that sense, like, the detective victory that you got there was the thing, like, much like life, like, a lot of people are quite content. It's like, I never did write that opera, or I never did try and become a writer. But you know what? I've got a pretty decent job at the bank right now, and I can go on vacation, and I have a family, and that's enough for me. And the game is actually quite neutral on whether or not that's a good thing. You can actually make progress in the game if you die. So you'll notice some of those legacies that you gained access to. You guarantee certain legacies to unlock based on the type of way you quote unquote lose. But if you're looking for like the big top tier endings, those usually involve sort of making sense of all of these fragments and achieving some great ritual, and that's when you achieve your great ambition. So but yeah, so there's like the first ending I ever got in this game was I just moved up enough at Glover and Glover and retired comfortably. And Griggs 2005, how you doing? So you guess you don't understand this game as a whole. Is it better to get as many followers or simply just try and win? So again, I'll actually let you know there are romance endings to the game. So in some senses, you only need one follower, just as long as it's the right one. It really depends on what you're trying to do. I think people have tried to do a no cult run. I don't know if that's actually possible. But it's really up to you in terms of how you want to do it. Like, the thing about this one is because it's not like Hearthstone or Magic or anything like that. The idea for this one is actually like it's a almost like a role-playing game in some sense. Like more like one with fewer like combat mechanics and things like that. But essentially it's telling a story through the cards. So in this case here, like, followers are a tool to achieve your ends as much as your contacts or your knowledge or, your body is. So it's possible to get what you need without having any followers, but you probably will have an easier time if you have followers, and you'll certainly have an easier time if you summon some of the alien beings that you can bring in. It is a little bit more open-ended in that sense. Like, it is up to you to decide sort of how you would like to achieve your goals, but definitely there are some paths that are a little easier than others. So now we're going to be going through to the Congregation of St. Felix of Shuren, a nonconformist enclave of a heterodox sect of a Calvinist offshoot tucked away in an odd corner of the city. They belt out hymns with unsuitable gusto in the throat-scraping language that is very much not quite Latin. So to go on the expedition, we need to pick leaders and assistants, and it is not at all clear what we need, but let's say we'll bring Rose because Rose has edge. And for safety, let's bring... Actually, you know what? If we're going to be running into people who might hurt us, Moth might be a little more helpful. And let's say we'll bring Neville for the delicious knock. And then, of course, we'll add money. So the challenge here is that I might actually run out of money during the expedition, but usually these beginning ones aren't so tough. So membership of the congregation is strictly controlled. It may even be inherited. The safest approach is to burgle the minister's residence while he's conducting a service, but the sworn mothers of the congregation guard the place in shifts, and they are not easily distracted. Actually, you know what? No, I'll distribute it, but I have a feeling we'll be adding Porter pretty quickly, so... All right, we'll carry on with our plan. So we're still painting, and eventually I'll get the conversion for the Fleeting Reminiscence done, but one thing at a time. All right, my recent work has drawn some attention. Something should sell. There must be order. Okay, another Fleeting Reminiscence. Oh wait, that's the same one I was talking about before. And we really just broke even on this one. That wasn't that great of a haul, but that's fine. It's recovered the thing that I needed. So we'll take our reputation as a medium. Sometimes I speak in voices that even I do not expect. My reputation as a performer is ruined. My reputation as an oracle has only begun, but the authorities have their eyes on me. So there's going to be a little bit of a lag between completing this work, a clandestine consultation. I can cobble together enough half-truths to satisfy my client, and in 2 seconds the hanger-on will be added to the cult. There we go. So White Ceremony's back. We've got a pawn, and Children of Silence will go back there. Now I don't have any contacts, but I need to use Miss Nania before that. So exercise the body, a higher strength. My heart beats with the steadiness of a drum and the certainty of a judge's sentence. So 1 additional health, and I now have a matchless physique. I move like a mountain and strike like the sky. To master others is strength. To master yourself is power. health and skill can increase no further. So level 4 strength, and we've got the dangerous aspect. Direct confrontation is always unwise, but in the last resort, if it comes to a struggle, I am very dangerous. Okay, so studying, I think we are going to do some translation. You know what? I might as well take advantage of the things that I can already read. So let's start with The Queens and the Rivers. This should get me Secret Histories. A surreal contemporary play by the enigmatic Monica Medina, in which the queens of the rivers are murdered one by one. The Queen of the Vistula is poisoned. The Queen of the... You know what? I have always struggled with this pronunciation, and today we are going to fix this. So I'm relying on Wikipedia for this. Okay, Daniper. My internet's slow. Naiper. All right, there we go. Apologies to all the Europeans watching. The Naiper chokes on a fishhook. The Queen of the Tagus is burnt alive. I probably mispronounced that one too, but we'll only do it one at a time. Okay, Nania, sorry. A painting of a dark-skinned woman with snow-colored eyes and close-cropped ivory-colored hair. She stands before a small marble tomb overgrown with star jasmine. The painting is signed Jonas B. Munch, 1811. So here we're going to convert the fleeting reminiscence. This will take roughly as long as the reading, and essentially the whole idea is to have some restlessness that'll be able to turn into a regular stream of money. So I've got a trembling heat, but unless I want to sacrifice a follower, there's really nothing that I can do with the influence right now. So the choices I have are to either risk the Painted River. I actually have forgotten the loop in terms of... these have a slightly more regular pattern to them. I don't think this gives me a fascination, but I'm actually not sure on it. I don't feel like I'll get a Secret Histories, but let's see. Lesson learned could be worse. I'm ready to improve. The Painted River runs from a great chamber near the Mansus, near the White Door, far through the Mansus, to the edge where it enters the painted delta of a far cloud. I voyaged half its length last night, with a stern-faced captain beneath a rust-red sail. As the clouds rose before us, the sailors raised a yearning shanty and close-hauled the sails to best use the painted wind. And all the while, the captain and I discoursed on the secrets of the House of the Sun. Okay, so 4 lessons learned, and I'm able to upgrade my reason. And of course, we have 3 collections of essays. So at this point, I want to take advantage of that. We'll wait the minute, of course, and then we'll just plow through these essays. We've got 300 seconds, so this one's gonna... yeah, we'll have enough to read everything and do the upgrade. Of course, I'm not going to be getting any lore, but that's fine because I'm really a little bit more interested in bringing new followers into the cult. Okay, do I want to go back to the White Door again? I don't think I do. It was the Stag Door that I wanted to go through. And no, I'm going to wait to heal my my illness on this